So whoever joins today. I will save this recording and then you will be able to replay it. Basically, I decided to go live because I took some break. I took some vacation time from YouTube for a month or even more than that, and I just felt like going live would be a little bit more streamlined way to open up a new season of video and content making. So I would like to welcome you all into our new year, into new season. And today I would like to present some important updates, some important information, something that you really can find value in. Besides that, I would like to present you some updates on the services and interesting information that is now available. And I invested a lot of time into finalizing my website and putting some valuable information there. So I will present on that as well. So I would like to discuss my most recent blood work. Basically, the deal was that in September 2023, I did my previous blood work. And that moment, 2023 September, I decided to conduct a study of whether I'm capable of synthesizing B12 or getting B12 from seaweed exclusively. So for 6 months preceding to that blood work, I was not supplementing with any B12 whatsoever. And so the results of that blood work were really shocking because I saw in the blood count, there are no blood tests, I saw how distribution of red blood cells by diameter, by size, increased drastically for me. Because I had data from 2018 up to 2021 before then. And with other parameters, seeing that the content of hemoglobin in the red blood cells decreased, seeing that the iron level with ferritin increased drastically, which could indicate the anemia of related to B12 deficiency as well. So seeing all those parameters, it made it very evident that I did suffer from B12 deficiency. So the day I received the data, I went and started taking the supplement. And so I was curious. It was 4 months before my most recent blood work. I was curious what will change. And the results were really cool because I actually saw my distribution of red blood cells by size dropping back to my historic norm. It was always 11.8% deviation. And so I was able to bring it down to my historic norm. That was always on the background of supplementing with B12. So that proved to me that I indeed developed B12 deficient anemia in the past, and that supplements indeed cured it. But what was interesting, in 2023, that blood test from which I derived the deficiency in B12, I didn't get the B12 tested. My doctor forgot to include it, B12 and folate. So in this blood work, we made sure that it was introduced. So now I have B12 data. And this is very interesting. And here I would like to make a first remark for why it is important to do a very comprehensive blood work and to know where to look when you receive the data. Because if I, for example, didn't do the general blood test and only tested for B12, following the observations, right? I only would test B12 and it came out to be 313. The normal B12 starts from 500. Below 500, you said you're still at the verge of the anemia because you will not be able to produce high quality, sufficient amount of erythrocytes. So you need to be past 500. I forgot what units. I have it on my laptop, so I might see it later. So actually my blood work and blood work analysis, very detailed with all conditions, will be on the blog on my website. I'm still working on putting this article together. But so I see this 313 of B12 and normal starts at 500. So what I did with B12 supplementation, I took it like every 3-4 days. So I didn't supplement with it like every day because I'm doing sublingual form. It has a huge dose of B12, so I was kind of scared. Now I'm going to take it every day. And ideal range for B12 starts with 1000. So ideal range is 1000 to 1500. This is when you have enough B12 for reliable, good erythropoiesis, along with nice levels of folate, folic acid. So this was a very important thing, but now I see that, okay, at 300, on a supplement, I have 313. Without supplement, I can't even imagine what it was before, but it led to morphological changes in my red blood cells. So there was an evident problem with that. This is why, again, very important to see all parameters when you receive your blood work. Very important to test for all facets of it. Because what I see frequently being done, people are like, okay, vegans often suffer from anemia. Anemia is iron deficiency, and they test iron, and they're like, my iron is good. Your iron can be sky high when you don't have high quality blood cells to actually get this iron. When you're lacking protein to bind this iron, when you're lacking transferrin, for example. So these conditions may lead to you having sky high iron without it being usable. And in general, here I would like to uh, bring some like knowledge that I acquired in how to interpret the blood work. But important thing, please note that the levels of vitamins will be individual. What is normal for you, what is not. Certain metrics, certain levels of whatever will be individual for you. And then another thing is that it's not a call for you to take supplements in certain doses, certain supplements, and so on and so forth. This will be a very individual story, and this is what I would like to demonstrate as well. So with B12, right, supplementation led me to restoration of certain parameters, and this is another message that I would like to drive because I heard it from some Russian raw vegan blogger. He says that vitamins do not exist. It's all scientific fallacy. It's all like some bullshit. And he says that, yeah, we don't need all the vitamins, especially also a funny thing that I heard was from breatharians. They also say that they synthesize minerals and vitamins. This is another note that I would like to discuss. When you see how parameter X dependent, that depends on certain vitamin, decreases when you stop supplying this vitamin, and then you supplement this vitamin and this parameter restores, this tells us that the vitamins are real, that vitamins exist and we need them. So I'm aware that some people will have B12 synthesis, internal B12 synthesis, and they somehow can absorb it through their intestine. Not everybody, even like apes, cannot do this. They usually get B12 through dirt and feces because they don't have hygiene standards of humans. So this is a kind of rather surprising thing for me that people are capable of that. But it's important to note that B12 must be above 500 at least. So I am still B12 deficient, so I'm going to take steps to increasing my B12 intake through the supplementation and see where it brings me to. Because without sufficient level of B12, restoration of hemoglobin levels, ferritin levels is impossible because you just won't have any functional red blood cells. I've been drawn towards a raw diet for a long time and appreciate you sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm talking about certain aspects that relate how you monitor your health on raw diet. Because one thing that can happen is that I talk about this intoxication limit of health and nutrition limit of health. When people are going on a Western diet, on some standard American diet, with a lot of processed foods, with a lot of sugars, with like fried things, with fried oils, with fried meats, with boiled starches, with refined starches and carbs, this is when they are intoxication limited. When we go on a raw diet, when we start eating like pure whole foods, when we eat a lot of fiber, we can, in theory, if we do not perfectly balance our diet, when we're not mindful about compensating certain missing pieces with supplements, this is when we can enter a nutrition limit. And this is what sets up a precedent for failure on a raw diet when we do not take into account those nutritional building blocks, when we do not compensate for potential deficiencies, when we do not study whether we get enough of nutrition. So this is why I make such an emphasis on study, on calculating nutrition and doing checkups to see whether this diet works for you or whether you need to do certain changes. Yeah, with B12, we need to have high quality red blood cells for that and enough proteins to bind iron because free iron cannot float in our system. We need it to be bound within a transferrin. Then it's stored as a part of ferritin. Both are proteins. So when we look at the anemia on vegan raw vegan diet, on any diet pretty much, we look at B12 folate, are they sufficient or not? Both must be relatively high. We're not looking to cross the bottom of the reference range. It's not how it works. Reference ranges, they first of all, they're dropping for many nutrients because people are developing nutritional deficiencies and hormonal insufficiencies and so on and so forth. So reference values are not what we need to strive to barely hit in most cases. So this is an important factor. Then we need to look at the iron binding capacity because if our blood is very greedy to bind to iron, when iron binding capacity increases, this means that there might be insufficient supply of iron. Then when our transferrin is low, this might mean that we're not getting enough protein. When our red blood cell count decreases, which means we're not producing enough red blood cells, we might look into actually getting enough B12 and folate. When our hemoglobin is low, hemoglobin actually can have compensation effect. So hemoglobin can increase when the person is oxygen deprived, but hemoglobin also must be high. Ferritin must be high. This is my problem that is being restored gradually on raw diet, which is super cool. So when my previous 2023 data, I saw that my ferritin and iron both increased. And then one subscriber sent me an article that they can increase in response to lacking B12 when again you don't have enough red blood cells to actually use iron. So I had this I suspected that I might have this compensation, but in the new blood work, when I restored my erythrocytes, their morphology, I evened them out, and finally I have nice erythropoiesis going on without like producing those ugly erythrocytes degenerated due to the deficiency of B12. My iron and ferritin are still keep growing, which makes me really happy. And there are certain dietary changes that I implemented recently that I will discuss later in this video. So those are all important factors. And again, I want to remind you that the analysis will be on my website, rawformoflife.com, in the blog. I will maybe make a post on YouTube, on Instagram, advertising it. But this is the website that I would really encourage you to subscribe. And also, I would like to remind you that I offer free 30-minute long sessions, consulting sessions, where you can get your questions answered if you are a beginner in raw diet, or if you have some and you don't know where to start, or if you tried this lifestyle, something didn't work. So if you have questions already, this is a good way to get them answered. And in terms of you may be like, what is the incentive? Are you going to spend 30 minutes selling me something or doing something that for me? This free session is partially, I like to help people who are in need. This is my genuine desire to do this, and my incentive that may be useful for me is to do marketing search, basically to see what people are interested in, such that I can better tailor my content to suit your needs. So these are the two things. Because I get a lot of messages on Instagram, I get a lot of pings and stuff like that. And sometimes I just want to make it more regulated. I want to make it a little bit more structured for myself. And I feel like it will be a very beneficial format where we can just go online, do a video call, and talk. instead of like exchanging those infinite messages on Instagram or via email. So this is how it's gonna work, and this is how I like envision this thing. I also have paid consultations with some features, so it's more in depth, it's more like supervision like process. So this is another thing for those who are interested, who are very committed to this lifestyle, and who would like some guidance. But the starting point is, of course, this free consultation that if you already have questions, you can get them answered. So you just don't like sit and stare, right? So then, with that, with blood work, important to test multiple parameters. One thing that, so I listened to this lecture on the anemia, and one thing that was tangentially mentioned in that lecture was parathyroid hormone, which was mentioned in conjunction with vitamin D. Vitamin D deficiency, in fact, affects literally every single part of our body, all functions of our body. And why it was in the lecture on anemia was because vitamin D deficiency can influence our intestinal microbiome, gut microbiome. It can influence even development of inflamed bowels, permeable bowels, development of all sorts of problems with the intestinal membranes that can lead to malabsorption of nutrients. So anemia can partially be triggered by that, by actually not being able to properly absorb the minerals and vitamins. So vitamin D and parathyroid hormone were mentioned there, and I was in 2023 without any supplement. It was already fall, so I was like month and a half without proper sunlight exposure. I got tested, and it was determined that I had slight vitamin D deficiency. So I went on a supplement. My slight deficiency was I had 26. The reference range starts at like 30, 33 for vitamin D. So I was below the reference range. And I know that in the past, taking 1,000 or 2,000 international units throughout winter would bring me to this level of 26 by the end of winter. So I had this insufficiency, but reference ranges were lower. So doctors didn't prescribe me any like increased dose or anything. I was still in the reference range, so it was kind of overlooked. It was before Rovigan died. And now I'm tested, like without supplement, I was tested 26. I go on a supplement, and I start taking 5,000 international units. And I've been doing this for some time, and one person online was like, oh, vitamin D supplements are shit. It's like they associated with so much problems. I started reading, and I see that, for example, in Scotland, they prescribe vitamin D supplements to everybody in the amount of 600 to 800 international units, and they do not recommend going over 1,000 international units per day. So I freaked out because I started reading that it can cause some like calcium metabolism problems if you overdose vitamin D from supplements. And I decided to drop my dose to 1,000. So for over a month, I was taking 1,000 international units as opposed to 5,000 to restore my vitamin D deficiency that was diagnosed in 2023 in September. And after that, I'm going to the doctor, I'm doing the vitamin D test, and I asked her to introduce the parathyroid hormone to the test as well. Parathyroid hormone can increase in response to the vitamin D deficiency. And when it increases, it causes the outflow of calcium from the bones. So it causes our body to actually start pulling calcium out of the bones. So parathyroid hormone can increase in response to insufficient calcium intake or to the insufficient vitamin D levels. Since I was tested again, I barely crossed the bottom of the reference range with vitamin D supplementation. So I'm back to 5,000 international units again because I'm in New York, I don't have any sunlight, and for me, I only get sufficient vitamin D when I suntan every day for 1 hour. This is my golden standard. From supplements, I do not readily absorb vitamin D that much, so I need to superdose vitamin D supplements. And without testing the parathyroid hormone, I would not know that I'm deficient because I'm within the reference range. And I thought that, okay, maybe it's my specifics. But my parathyroid hormone came out to be high, which means that I am deficient in vitamin D. Yes, I increase vitamin D with the supplement to some degree, but it's still very low. So this shows me the individual reaction to having certain level of vitamin D that will vary from person to person. The reference range has nothing to do with it. So I am deficient in vitamin D, I go to the higher dose. And why am I ruling out the calcium deficiency? I'm ruling out calcium deficiency here because my calcium is in the normal range. Another parameter there is alkaline phosphatase. They come in some relationship and it's also normal in my case. So the only thing that is abnormal in my blood work, parathyroid hormone, alkaline phosphatase, and calcium and vitamin D is vitamin D right now. So this is why I'm focusing on increasing the vitamin D intake. Because this is the only parameter that is close to being abnormal. And the risk factors of having high parathyroid hormone is desorption of the bone tissue and sedimentation of calcium where it doesn't belong, where it will be kidneys, for example. So this is why I wouldn't take, for example, calcium supplements. This would be dangerous. So if a person is only seeing hyperthyroid hormone, didn't test for vitamin D, they may think that okay, they may need to take more calcium. And they will take more calcium and they will dump a bunch of it in the body, and it may lead to the complications. So it's very important to test all parameters cumulatively. Another thing that I'm thinking, but I haven't received any note from the doctor at this point, is vitamin K2, because vitamin D is responsible to delivering calcium into the bones. Vitamin K2 is responsible for retaining calcium in the bone, so it kind of prevents the leaching of calcium from the bone. So this is something that I would like to research more. Unfortunately, there is not much done in terms of vitamin K2 studies, and my doctor is silent, so I don't know whether she will have any input or not. K2 vitamin is very important for retaining the bone mass, and it's found in fermented foods, natto beans, a little bit in sauerkraut, and in the animal products, also from bacterial synthesis, just the same as B12. However, unlike B12, K2 is a simple molecule, a simple organic molecule, and it doesn't require minerals. It doesn't require any like fancy chemistry to take place. So it's synthesized by bacteria that are present in like sauerkraut. So in our intestine potentially. How is it absorbed? I'm not sure yet. I need to do more studies on that and see if I might be desorbing my bones in response to vitamin K2 deficiency. I don't know if anyone tests for that. And in general, very, very bad thing is that in the articles, when you start searching vitamin K, a lot of them are actually talking about vitamin K2, K1, sorry, vitamin K1, and call it vitamin K, as if vitamin K2 and other numbers don't exist. But there is a whole array like K3 and so on and so forth. They have, I think those like further ones they can transform into K2 or vice versa. So they are not essential vitamins, but K2 is one of the essential ones, and its formation in the body is arguable whether we can synthesize and absorb it or not. Because again, even if we synthesize it, do we absorb it? And what is necessary for absorption? This is what I want to study. So, this was another discovery. And the options that I have besides superdosing with vitamin D, which is again an arguable field of study. Some articles will say that vitamin D supplements are the worst thing on the planet. Some will be like, oh, it's essential to take high doses, and even from the sun, people no longer get them. I will stick to the supplements for now. And of course, there is a ongoing conversation about relocating to a place with more sunshine per year, because New York, if you look at the osteoporosis map, All northern countries, all northern regions are at high risk of developing osteoporosis. Even in the regions where they eat a lot of fish, where they supplement with vitamin D, where they eat a lot of dairy and calcium. So this doesn't help. Vitamin D is the one that we need to actually drive calcium into the bones. So northern areas are at super high risk because the most optimal way to get vitamin D is by going under the sun. So under the sun, 15-minute exposure of full body to the sunshine at 12 p.m., so it did the zenith, gives 10,000 international units. 10,000. In the most bioavailable form possible. Bypassing, nice to see you back, thank you. Bypassing the digestive system. So when we talk about actually supplements of D3, why there can be problems with getting vitamin D from the supplements. The first reason is low-fat diet because it's a fat-soluble vitamin and it will compete for absorption with other fat-soluble vitamins such as A, E, and K. When we eat a raw diet, we get a ton of vitamin A, we get a ton of vitamin E, and we get some terribly high doses of vitamin K1. I get 2000% daily value of vitamin K1, which is stellar. I mean, it's good. It fortifies the blood vessels, it fortifies all the mucus linings. It's beautiful. But it can interfere with absorbing vitamin D. Same with vitamin A. They have certain synergistic slash antagonistic action. So the relationship between vitamin D and vitamin A is complex. We cannot say that we need to eradicate vitamin A from our diet to properly assimilate vitamin D or take them in different times of the day. No. They have certain mutual regulatory system going on. But still, there can be interference in the GI tract. This is first factor. Impediment of vitamin D absorption by other competing vitamins. And factor number 2 is bad condition of the gut, which can be IBS, which can be perforated gut syndrome, all of those things. Do I have them? I have no idea. But compared to the past, before raw diet, when I had those flare-ups of IBS every several weeks, when I had migraines related to the GI tract, compared to that, right now it's much more streamlined and I don't have that. So I'm assuming that my gut health greatly improved, but I still do not see perfect absorption of vitamin D. That would bring me to the top level of the reference range, to the top boundary of the of the reference range for vitamin D. So this may be another consideration. But what I know is that, again, seeing vitamin D being in the reference range, but having high parathyroid hormone with other parameters that can increase parathyroid hormone being normal, I derive that this vitamin D level is clearly insufficient. Other things, I feel the influence of lacking the sun. I still feel it. So I even look at the videos and photos of myself when it's summertime, when I get enough sunshine. It's compared to me in winter, it's two different people. It's two different people. Because again, in the sunshine, it's like more radiance, more energy, more like vitality. And because again, I get enough vitamin D from normal synthesis, all my systems get exposed not to just deep UV, but also to all other wavelengths of the sun that all have different influence on our skin, on our hormonal system. In winter, it's not there. Most of the days are gloomy. Like right now, I'm sitting in front of the window and there are gray clouds with patches of blue sky finally, and this feels really amazing. So there is this problem that exists. And in this regard, again, if you live up north doing a raw diet, please do not fall in the trap of following a no fat raw diet, which is a super high dietary system apparently. There are people who say that we should eradicate fat from our diet in order to be healthy. Mm-mm. Don't, please. But it's my opinion based on, not opinions, based on what I'm reading. So this is a very important thing to actually get enough fat with your diet. And also vitamin D is best taken, of course, in the morning with some nutritious food with fat in it. So these are the things that can improve absorption of vitamin D. Something else, of course, no monitoring gut health, which is fiber, 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 fiber. Diverse kinds of fiber, and perhaps sometimes doing like periods of increased intake of fermented foods as well. So these are the insights from my most recent blood work. And again, whoever joined later, I would like to recap that I restored my um, distribution of red blood cells by volume, by size, by supplementing with B12 for 4 months. So this is a success, proves that B12 supplements work. So yeah, then another thing. In terms of the diet, what changes happened within this month? So I decided to be a little bit stricter. So preparing for this blood work and going further, I went on a low sugar raw diet again. Again, my low sugar principle is that I'm only eating seasonal fruits. I'm only eating seasonal fruits. I'm making them a meal, and the rest of the foods are bitter, high fat, high protein. So this may not be the optimal detoxifying diet. This may not be the like 5D vibrance whatever diet, but it ensures that I get all the proper nutrition. And I advertised this video everywhere where I did all the calculations for all the parameters of my diet, of food that I'm consuming, in terms of essential amino acid content, in terms of minerals, in terms of vitamins, and I still hold on to that protocol, doing some changes, some reactive changes whenever something changes. So, in my perception and my preferences, but overall, I'm holding on to this bitter, sour, and plain diet with some introduction of sugary fruits. The reason for that is that I try to watch my dental enamel because too much acid, too much fruit sugar is not good. I have video on the dental health, and I know that a lot of fruitarians actually suffer from enamel deterioration. This looks pretty scary, doesn't look healthy by no means. So, introducing specifically mineral rich foods is a priority for me, and they happen to be bitter, they happen to be leafy greens. And I feel real improvement by eating those foods. And Then another thing is that fruits are often void of many nutrients, so if we calculate them, I mean, they contain barely anything. I mean, some of them, yeah, they contain. Oranges, for example, are a good source of calcium and vitamin C, but most fruits, they are void of much nutrition, and you really need to eat only fruits all day in huge quantities. And the thing is that the fruits that we get nowadays, they're too sugary as opposed to to their ancestors that were more starchy. Eating those sugary fruits may not be healthy for some individuals. And here is another consideration. I hear some people try to go on a raw diet and they try eating high sugary fruits amount. What happens to them is their liver may freak out because liver is responsible for metabolizing fructose. And if their liver is bad, in a bad shape, this is going to be a double hit on the liver. And this is why it's so important to start your diet if if you had like bad dietary habits in the past, it's very important to start off with nice hydration, a lot of leafy greens, bitter greens to actually purge your liver, restore it before you start introducing large quantities of fruits, fructose-rich fruits. And another reason why I dial back on the fruit is because fruits cause flatulence. And if you mix them with any foods, if you don't maintain a good space between the meals and introduce fruits amidst eating something with high protein, with fats, with high fiber content, introduce fruits with glucose, with fructose, that are metabolized at different rates, that the different bacteria can consume and produce the fermentations, the metabolites, you can create the flatulence. So it creates a lot of discomfort in the stomach, in the gut as well, which is not healthy by no means. So it is really important to isolate fruits, limit them within a certain window, and do not mix the fruit meals with anything else. But again, if I'm striving to compose a sustainable, nutritionally sufficient diet, I already have 3 meals that consist of very nutritious foods. So squeezing fruit, I can only afford to do this once a day as a some like fourth snack meal. Consume them and not eat them throughout the day anymore. So this is my diet, not revolution, but I guess dial back to the fundamentals that I established for myself. Another thing is that now I completely eradicated cooked foods from my diet because I used to do a lot of cooked lentils, lentil pasta throughout the past like several months. And now I just started sprouting them. So I got the bag of my favorite beluga lentils, and I right now making a batch of sprouts because I ran out of my previous one. So this is another source of essential amino acids. They contain probably like 100 grams, 100 grams of sprouts, which is like a little dish, will contain about 10 grams of complete protein. So this is a nice addition to my hemp, pumpkin seeds, and walnuts. So this is another thing. Then, I would like to see if you have any questions. Because I guess I said everything. It was kind of, I don't know if it was a clear, put together video, if you were able to derive any information. I also forgot to share one other aspect of that I tested during my blood work that I want to share. So questions, please. If you don't mind, I'll go grab water. A drink. No questions, are we all set? Because I feel like I was just like talking. So another parameter that I tested actually. So if you want to see, for example, you've been eating watermelons only, right? For several months. How can you test? And like so and then you go to do a blood work in the morning on a fasted state. How are you going to tell if you have too much sugar in your diet or not? You test, it's called HG1AC or HGA1C. Basically, it shows the amount of cross-linked hemoglobin. Because, as you know, sugars, they cross-link proteins. And in order to establish whether you have been eating high amount of sugar consistently, and you would want to test that because I'm wondering actually if this is a good metric to assess collagen cross-linking as well, because I mean sugar cross-links all long-living proteins, right? So and then hemoglobin is one of them. So I was curious about that, whether my diet causes cross-linking, and the danger of that is actually it creates also excessive sugar consumption can cause anemia because, or not even anemia, but oxygen deprivation because hemoglobin that is cross-linked, first of all, it destroys much faster. And the second thing is that it doesn't carry oxygen to the cells as well. So that's why it's a dangerous condition if cross-linked hemoglobin level is high. Mine was low. Mine was like, it's like normal is 4 to 6. I forgot it's percent or not. Mine was 5. And they can judge if there is a pre-diabetes condition based on this parameter. It's not just the glucose level. It's that parameter that can tell if there is a precedent for development of diabetes. So from 7 to 10, I think it requires further monitoring, and then from certain level onward, it's already diabetes considered. So mine was 5, which was cool, but again, it's not surprising because again, I follow a relatively low sugar diet, so to speak. But this is another parameter that is worth checking during your next blood work if you want to monitor your health very meticulously. So yeah, and I want to read if this can also reflect on the collagen cross-linking because actually collagen, yeah, we all know that it stops synthesizing as readily after the age of 30, but we can speed it up. We can speed up destruction of collagen because collagen that was cross-linked, it becomes fragile. It no longer holds the plumpness of skin. It no longer acts as this nice cartilage tissue. So cross-linking collagen is one of the factors of murdering the youthfulness of the skin. It reduces the health of joint health, in general bone health, because our bones are also composed of collagen. So it's really like an overwhelming thing. That's why sugar is so bad. It's like one of the worst substances to consume. We talk about refined sugar specifically, and like liquid sugars, different syrups, high fructose corn syrup, glucose syrup, whatever is added in all sorts of drinks and quote unquote foods. Let's call them edibles. So yeah, this is another thing. You can search for it. Let me see how it's called precisely. I'll just open my laptop. This is results. It's called HGBA1C. So yeah, it's something cool to test. So would have to replay the video, listening and working. Okay, sure. Yeah, then feel free to leave your comments below. So then another thing. Let me see if I didn't mention something. I have a whole sheet here. You know, taking notes. Taking notes and designing clothes. I have certain interesting notes about the anemia because I actually had a girl in the comments. She was asking about anemia. She was struggling to heal her anemia. And one of the things that I mentioned was to actually monitor the gut health and iron intake. Because if nothing helps, it's worth also to exclude the possibility of any blood loss through, I don't know, there can be some like microbleedings anywhere, there can be some ulcers and whatnot. And also, yeah, malabsorption of nutrients can also happen. Yeah, B12, I wrote down, must be within 1,000 to 1,500. Then another thing was actually lactate level that I didn't have tested. I forgot to introduce it. High level of lactate may also indicate oxygen deficiency. So this is another thing that is worthy of testing, but I didn't actually get it tested. Then another thing, there's also transferrin saturation parameter that I also restored a little bit. It causes how much iron is inside of the transferrin protein, which also can indicate to the sufficient or insufficient supply of iron. This is another important parameter for the anemic friends. So, and another thing, by the way, for anemic people is that small erythrocytes indicate iron deficiency when they become tiny. When erythrocytes or red blood cells become large, this indicates B12 deficiency. So this is another important note here. Any other questions, please, from the audience, or I will be finishing the stream. And again, we'll be like, congratulations, we opened the new season. I was away, I took some time off, and now again, I'm like, how do I do YouTube? Like, it's like the skill of popping the camera in front of you and coming up with a video kind of reduces very quickly, surprisingly and unfortunately, because when you are doing YouTube every day or every other day, you film the videos, it becomes so easy. And topics also, coming up with the topics becomes very easy because you're like, I can talk about this facet, this facet, this facet. You have feedback, like people type you something in the comment, that brings a lot of inspiration, that brings a lot of things to talk about. And then when you're like, it's like with with people who don't talk often, like then you call them a year after and you're like, what am I talking to you about? Like, I don't know what to discuss. As opposed to people who call every day. In that case, you can like talk about so many things. So when take a break from YouTube, you're like, what am I talking about? Even though we have like 1,000 things to talk about. In the replay, I hope, yeah. I wonder if, so I'm going live from the phone. I forgot if I enable the chat replay save, but we don't have much activity, so. It's like I have like now 6,000 subscribers. Where are they? Are they all working? Have pretty diverse geography too, so at least for the South demographics, this would be a prime time. I know that Americans are probably at work from coast to coast. Yeah, they are. Yeah, I know you are, but are you in California? I really appreciate that you're staying though, because yeah, I know that. I mean, it's funny. In Canada, okay, in the West Coast, I'm assuming. So, it's or what time is it? In the middle somewhere, okay. So it's funny because when I look at my YouTube analytics, the peak times during business days are in the work day. It's so funny because I'm like, do people work? Or do they do YouTube? And then they don't watch it during their home family time. Just cute. But yeah, so yeah, my trajectories in terms of further, based on the blood work that I received, I'll summarize here. I will keep going with vitamin B12 supplement, which I am the dose, not the dose, but frequency of administration, because I was doing like every 3-4 days. I'm going to do this every day and see where it brings me to. The thing is here is that it's not like I went on raw diet and then B12 deficiency happened. No, the thing was that I always was in that range, I think, based on the blood count metrics. And I never was not on a supplement of B12. I always took some multivitamins growing up, like being a child, a teenager, later a student, and so on and so forth. And I remember whenever I would abandon the multivitamin, I would get certain like symptoms, especially like during the cold seasons. So I would always quickly go back on the supplement on multivitamin, and that would bring my health to a better shape. And now in the US, I try to build my nutrition in a way that I get most of my nutrients from food, and now especially. And taking this B12 supplement to me is like, okay, only that? Sure. And vitamin D, of course. Uh, northern areas are, northern life sucks in that case. Because again, vitamin D affects not just bone health, it affects immunity, it affects uh, life expectancy because lack of vitamin D can be a precursor to development of certain cancers. It's oh my god, my dog just almost fell off the couch from sleep. Mm, no bullshit. Yeah, it's a very serious thing. So no matter what, how much sardines and eggs you're eating, it's not gonna restore that readily. And so yeah, B12, even with animal foods, I still supplement it because it's funny also people think that okay, you will eat meat and or some animal products and you will get enough of all those missing vitamins. Mm-hmm. Sure. There are so many things that go into actually being able to get those nutrients from. First of all, if you look at any tables, you need to eat so much of those foods to get recommended daily values that your diet will pretty much be rid of anything else. Then, another factor is that if anything in the body is off, if any part of GI tract works improperly, then the extraction of those nutrients will be incomplete. And then the third thing is that even if digestion of those things is perfect, but you eat a lot of the animal foods, with time there will be deterioration of your ability to actually extract nutrients from those foods as well, because they burden the GI tract so much to digest them. So these are the three factors. This is why I find it pretty unavoidable in the modern world to supplement with B12 and vitamin D, irrespective of the diet. And you can say that, oh, you're trying to justify. No, no. I mean, I'm an example that was on the perfect doctor approved diet with animal products, and I am on the not so mainstream raw vegan diet right now, and I have observations and I have documented blood work from both types of diets. So yeah, that's let's say pretty neat study that I can provide and showcase. Anecdotal study, but still nice observations. So I'm wondering if anyone's going to join because we have like pretty narrow niche audience. It's like exclusive content, exclusive meeting today, almost private. Still waiting if you come up with any questions. Minard spaceship, are you still here or not? I thought I saw you joined first, and I'm wondering if you're still here. Okay, yeah. I don't know how to properly pronounce your name, but but yeah, thank you for checking in. I don't know if wait, let's say 30 more seconds if anyone else joins would post questions for watching their play. Yeah, sure. I wish I actually gave a nice presentation with the blood work, but again, I will be posting it on the blog too. I saw you posted actually comment on my blog. I think it was you. So that was very nice. But yeah, check for more updates soon. I don't know when I will finish that article because I'm approaching it as my as as I did in my grad school when you're writing the article with checking every sentence, writing everything. So I don't know how many edits my inner critic and inner censor will have to go through before I publish it, but I'll try to do it relatively soon because I don't want to forget certain insights. At the same time, it might be worth investing more effort into actually learning something. Maybe there will be something cool that binds everything together, all the observations together. So, one, two, three. Nobody's joining. Yeah, subscribers. Maybe we should go in the evening, go on live on in the evening instead. I will see because I have a lot of Indian subscribers, so I should see what time it is for them. Like if we go 7 p.m. But again, everybody can watch it in the replay. I hope they will do. Okay, no one is here. Everybody's diligently working. Should much better, sure. Everybody's diligently working, propelling the economy of their country, and yep. We'll try to do. Do you have any subjects that you would be interested in discussing in the live stream? Since you have the exclusive right to propose. So if you have, oh, a second person join. Sprouting, oh sure, actually a video on sprouting. If you see in my recipe playlist, I have sprouting. For sprouting, I can tell you right now, by the way. So I can tell you that I sprout only black lentils because I am not, I don't have like much time to devote to developing some sprouting techniques for all the capricious seeds. I tried sprouting sesame, they just spoiled. What else? I tried sprouting something else and they also spoiled. Black lentils are phenomenal for that. And with lentils, first of all, we break down lectins. Hello, the second person, by the way. Join the chat and write any questions you have. We discussed so far blood. You will watch it in the replay. I really encourage you to do so. This was a very, by the way, informative stream. So please watch it. But if you have any questions, anything comes to your mind, go ahead. So with sprouting, you break down lectins while you sprout. But the thing is that third, fourth day, I found the article. The enzyme content in the lentils, in the sprouts, peaks and then declines. So this is the optimal window for consuming them. But on the day like 1 or 2 of sprouting, it's pretty low. So it goes down and then goes peaks and then goes down and plateaus somewhere. So yeah, it's really good to wait for your sprouts for 3-4 days and then enjoy them. So this is what I can comment quickly on the sprouting subject. But yeah, black lentils are just so, it's a breeze to sprout them. They're my favorite because they, unlike like green lentils, for example, they don't have the shell that comes off of them as much. Their shell either stays intact or washes off pretty quickly, pretty like easily. Unlike red lentils, they have so much flour in them, as well as green lentils too. So, and this flour, it creates the contamination that's suitable for bacteria to kind of consume. So I don't like that aspect either. Black lentils are for the win, and plus they're most nutritious ones among all the lentils. So sprouting, it's my favorite pseudo grain or legume to sprout. I don't know. In my heart, I have no idea how people sprout green buckwheat, for example. This to me is a mystery. So I just soak it if I make any like bread out of green buckwheat or whatever recipes, granola. That's something that I have no idea how they actually reach the sprouts because it's such a slimy mass. I would imagine that it gets really, bacteria gets really interested in it. So I have no idea. Sprouting. What else? I would really love to sprout broccoli seeds though, because those are powerhouse. But it's probably in towards microgreens scene. And then clover, other seeds. So That would be something cool. But I have videos, so check in the recipe. It's like sprout like a pro. It has super bright pink thumbnail, you'll see. It stands out from other thumbnails. Any other questions? Anything that comes to your mind, I will respond with pleasure. Or again, I will be finishing the video. At the same time, I love talking. Like I haven't talked in a while. Like, and again, it's a nice way to exercise the YouTube muscle again after a break. That I'm also bleeding. Okay, let's wrap up then. I'm going to finish this and yeah, replay. Let's save it. Bye bye.